Alright guys, we're presenting our game, Elements of Destruction. I'm Scott, this is Brandon, this is Jason. Our other member is Brad, but he's not here yet, that's not him, or him. So yeah, this is our game, and we're proud of it. It's still coming along, not done yet. And the backstory is that we're 4 thieves who are trapped in prison, and the last heist we were on, we stole these gems, as you can see, which gave us elemental powers: fire, water, earth, and wind. It's kind of like Captain Planet, but there's no heart. So the game starts, you're locked up in jail, and you have to escape using your elemental powers. And you want to find these gems again to make the powers last forever. Alright, I did the art, and it's, as you can see, it's basic sprites. I don't know if anyone recognizes it, but this is Lance the Dragon Trainer from Pokemon. A lot of the art was stolen sprites and then modified a little bit, as you can see the bottom 2 rows. Like I said, no one in our group had real artistic ability. Maybe Brandon's the most artistic. He made that first slide you saw. We borrowed a good amount of slides, sprites, which is a nice way of saying we stole from the internet. And I was using Photoshop for the first time, so I had to learn a lot of the ins and outs of that. But I think it worked out pretty well. And we'll let Brandon talk about the design a little bit.
So I don't want to bore you guys with the whole design, so I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of highlights of what I thought would be most interesting for you guys. So we start off with world, which contains everything inside our game. All our objects are inside world. We have our tiles, our camera, our actors, our game objects, engine handler, and we also have our methods for updating, drawing, and loading the game. So for characters, we have this game object is our highest class, and below that we have other objects and also a character, which is a game object, because we want it to be able to draw and detect collisions. So inside a character, we have different states, character states, which is to the right over there. And the character states contain the max speed they can go, what kind of terrain they can traverse across, and also what sprite they're currently using and a collision boundary. And then, so when you change your character state, you're going into your power state to use your superpower. You just change the character state, which is pretty simple. Or if you want to switch back to a normal state, and you also have a current state if you need to run faster for some reason. Character has move, check collision, and reset its state, it can interact, and it also has its update. Below character is our actor. Actor is what we are calling our playable characters, our main characters that can either be human controlled or computer controlled. And we also have enemies underneath character. Actors are the ones that would most likely be changing their states the most when they use their greater power or lesser power. And since Brad is here, artificial intelligence.
So of course our game had to include some sort of artificial intelligence. We're trying to think of what would be, what would make sense here. And in our system, we implemented the system of orders. And basically, you as the player command your actor to do certain things. Go here, control this area, do whatever. And we realized that the same system not only used for your active character, but all characters, including enemies, the non-currently player-controlled actors. So for all of the movement that's going on and all the player interaction that you're not immediately directing is being handled by this central order system. Basically what you do is you say, go here. And then what you return from the system is a set of move orders. We chose move orders because it was basically the central action that the AI would need to do. And all of the other actions that the AI would take in response to that would be supplementary and could be handled on a lower level. So for instance, the stand at order would basically give the return path so your player knows where to go and how to get there. But then you'd also turn off his default behavior of flocking. So when he gets to the location, instead of trying to then follow around the player, he'll stay where he's at. So basically you get more complex behaviors through very simple means. So these are our basic orders, follow, chase, patrol. And because of the way we implemented our system as a system of moves, things like chase and follow are nearly identical except for where they're trying to chase to. For instance, for the follow order, you're finding the direction and path to the spot just behind the player that you're following, versus the chase where you're going directly to that location and keep going there until you actually get to them. So it's pretty simple. We have by default flocking, so if you're just kind of standing around, if you switch to another player, all of the players will follow you if they're nearby. Pretty simple and straightforward as far as that goes.
All right. I'm going to show you what we've got so far. It's not a complete game, but we're going to demo basically our tutorial level to demonstrate how all the powers are going to be used to solve puzzles and whatnot. It's a 4-player game. Up to 4 people can play it. I'm going to be on the keyboard. You don't want to grab controllers. So we start out, we're in this jail cell.
Hold on, you get that.
Oh, hey, check that out. There we go. So we've got this character who's trapped in the jail cell. And fortunately for her, her superpower is to turn into a puddle of water, which she can use to go through the bars. We'll get to those later. We go down here, and we've got our friend who's also trapped in this jail cell. But we don't need him now. Except we get to these spikes, because there's always spikes in the dungeon. And we can't cross over those spikes. So maybe Earth Guy knows how to get over those. So we'll go back over those conspicuous looking scales. Since she has water, she can add water to the scales. And that should open the gate. Hey. So right now the camera only follows the first player. Why don't you go ahead and open that gate? Oh, it's A, by the way. Whoever's controlling. Stand right there, you go. And now we fire. There we go. So we're almost a complete trick. You gotta use our superpowers too. Now we need to figure out a way to open this gate, and there's a conspicuous looking tree. Yeah. And now we have all of us together. Good stuff. Hey. Yeah. So that's our game. That's the first level. Any questions, comments, ideas of what we can do? Awesome. Yeah.
What happens if you don't have all of 4 players playing the game? How can you face the obstacles?
If there's less than 4 players, I'll just restart it again.
You have to switch around between one or the other.
You can switch between them. The AI will handle obvious cases of needing to use your superpowers. For instance, if you're the water guy and you start out and you're leaving the dungeon and you don't have to take control of the rock guy, you can actually order him to go to the other side of the gate. He'll figure out the path to get there, and that in that path he has to change his superpower to become that boulder so he can roll over the spikes. So the AI will do things like that for you. It currently does not handle things like the scales or puzzles like that because they're not obvious for the AI, basically. Things like needing to change state to get over terrain that it handles.
And that's something we want the player to figure out on their own anyway. So. Yeah.
Is that a PlayStation and an Xbox controller?
No,
Oh, it's the black one. Okay.
yeah. We use XNA, which makes it really easy, basically, to develop for Windows or Xbox. None of the roadblocks we encountered during development had anything to do with trying to figure out how the code worked, so that was nice. There's a lot of tools online and within XNA itself, so you can kind of just, how do I do this, and figure it out pretty easily.
Will you guys be fixing that diagonal motion animation, or are you just gonna make it look like you're turning really, really fast?
Again, none of us are very good at art, so it would have been kind of hard to draw a sprite that's only turned slightly to the left.
Come on. It makes it interesting.
Yeah.
It gives it a fun little touch.
That's true.
Is that the AI?
No, that's
The only one that looks really smooth is
the
water,
bow.
I think.
So the tornado looks kind of good when it does this little lean thing.
Not the water,
And Puddle looks great.
Just one image, that's fine.
So I imagine the top bar is probably like your health. What's the second bar going to be for?
Well, what we were planning is we actually weren't really going to have health because we wanted to be like a puzzle adventure type of game. Like, so if you got caught by an enemy, you basically have to restart the level. What the bars are you're going to have two powers, greater power and a lesser power. The greater power transforms them, and that will be limited energy based on how many gems they've collected. And then your lesser power, you can, like water for example, will be able to refill her power by like a water source. We're going to have like a bucket of water for them somewhere. And
So if they do a number of actions several times, then
Yeah.
their power level's going to go down.
yeah, well the lesser powers we were planning on having be like a continuous kind of stream, so deplete their energy that way.
But everything's not fully implemented yet. We're still working on it. But that's our plan.
How many levels do you guys have planned currently?
Well,
Right now, only this one because getting it done was tedious enough. If time allows, we'll try to do another one.
I think we just want to add more to this one level though.
yeah.
More puzzles to that, since we're in that environment.
We used a tile grid kind of system for placing the walls and the ground tiles and stuff. So it's kind of tedious because I use like for loops and stuff to actually place all the walls. And we were thinking about later for like a fuller version of the game, there'd be like a level class that actually builds each level. And that information would be stored in like a text file or something.
I just realized something, the display here is stretched out too long, so that's why it looks like he's moving faster up. But it's really the same speed.
Any others?
Okay, a second.